Our next item of the agenda is an expert talk, Building a Product Management Community. Chandrashekhar is a distinguished Senior Director of Product Management at ADP, with over 17 years of expertise in product management. With previous roles in NCR, Adobe, and Avaya, he's a seasoned leader known for successfully launching new products, achieving product market fit, and driving imperative growth for Fortune 500 companies. Proficient in Agile and SAFe technologies, Chandra excels in product strategy, lifecycle management, and leading cross-functional teams. His skills in competitive analysis and market research further enhance his value in the field, making a career characterized by innovation and product excellence. I invite Chandrashekhar onto the stage, please.
ADP is always designing for people. As you heard from Ranjan in the morning, we are 18 billion plus in revenue, number one HCM company globally. We have clients across 140 different countries, 1 million plus clients. I don't think many of the companies can say that. Remember, our clients are pretty large. We have clients like Amazon, Sodexo, and so on, all the way from small business. Recently, when it comes to Gen AI, we have been following a principle of make it easy, smart, and human. You would have heard that in the morning. So you will see a lot of reference to the content that I've got in here today is going to be in the backdrop of that this is potentially very specific to a B2B setup, a large company like ADP with a big product organization based out of India. So we have talked about Gen AI since morning. So this is all being future ready. So we would like to have our product leaders, especially for a lot of large companies based out of India. We have seen a good number of product managers being recruited, hired, groomed internally in the recent past, in the last 5 to 10 years. So what does this really mean for all of us sitting in this hall here? So that's really the topic. I've got a few slides to take the conversation forward, but we'll try to keep it very interactive. I'll try to make some logical pauses in between a few slides, and feel free to ask questions. This is me sharing some of the learning from my side, but I'm sure collectively we can share a little bit more. Okay? So with that, we'll get started. And hopefully this will work. Yes. So that's the agenda. We'll start with a quick recap of what we have been hearing since morning. What does Gen AI really mean for product managers and product leaders? So Gen AI really brings in, I think we have heard since morning that a lot of new evolving use cases, right? And interestingly, I think we as product managers, we have got enough use cases in our backlog, right? As if we didn't have enough. We have use cases coming all the way from senior executives, from customers, from everywhere. So Gen AI is just adding to it, right? So, however, this creates an opportunity in terms of use cases. Like one of the examples which was talked in the morning was the concept of creating job descriptions. We have been thinking about this quite a lot in the past. However, with the advent of Gen AI, this has gotten a little closer. Of course, we need to fine tune it, we need to improve it, but that certainly has helped. Second, in terms of changing market landscape, in the last like 9 months or so, we have heard of many startups which have come in, and every large company is trying to play a role in Gen AI, right? So that certainly has a dynamics in terms of what we do as a product manager day in, day out. We have seen a lot of companies talk about Copilot in their respective space. Today in the panel discussion also we heard that. Third, embracing a lot of regulatory compliances. I think in the morning we heard about scenarios or use cases around candidate relevancy, where I'm trying to stack rank candidates based on the resume versus the fitment with the job description and so on. However, we have got a few states in the US who are basically saying that you actually need to give that option to the candidate whether they want to opt out from from their resume being screened by AI. So that's a new regulation which is coming in. And many states are actually trying to get that in front of their population. So as product managers, we had to react quickly to those regulations. So that certainly is one of those things. Being ethical, we as ADP, as an example, we have data for 1 million plus clients, and that data is a gold mine of information. However, we want to be very careful in terms of how do we use that data, right? So being ethical in terms of how we use the data becomes critical. Finally, for a large company like ADP, and I think most of the, I've seen folks from ServiceNow, Pega, and so on, so these are fairly large companies. And for many of these large companies, we typically have a large suite of products, a large portfolio. And when GenAI comes in, it is not just, I'm not trying to solve one specific use cases, we have to solve a use case across these products. And managing that scale of innovation for a large company, potentially a company which has evolved over years, is not that easy, right? So that's another additional challenge. So how do we manage these challenges as we go forward? I think we try to answer that. Is it me or something? Okay. Thank you. How do we manage this? So the first thing is, we in ADP, we have been investing in continuous learning. And this continuous learning is very specific to product management 101. I think we heard enough in the morning that whatever be the case, Gen AI or something else, knowing the customer, the product management 101 goes nowhere. So we need to keep learning and making sure that as we hire more product managers, as we get more product managers into our organization internally, we want to make sure we are giving them enough tools and frameworks from a product management fundamental perspective. And that is what we have been doing in ADP in the recent past. Now, it's equally important that these trainings and these boot camps are practitioner-led, because we do want to make sure that anything that is shared with the product managers, new product managers, are based on the experience of the practitioners. So that's been one of the focus, and I think that would apply to any other company. Solving real-life problems goes without saying. I think we had multiple boot camps where we talked about specific use cases in the area of talent acquisition, talent management, where we were trying to throw those problems at the new product managers and solve them using these frameworks that they may have learned in the classroom. We partnered with a good number of B schools as well to bring in some fresh new ideas, right? And I think the last point is very important. We heard that during the conversation. We as product managers, especially, I think most of the product management organization in India has been built with the advent of Agile, SAFe, whatever you call it, right? Starting with the product owners. And we are pretty good in terms of execution and the solution space. But what's equally important for us to innovate is we become comfortable with the problem space. And that's been the focus for us. Okay? Customer at the center, nothing new. I think we have talked about it enough, right? Now, how do we do this? Being so many miles away from the customers, for probably most of us in this room, because our customers are sitting either in the US or in most cases in the developed economies in Europe and so on, right? So how do we solve this? Of course, we try our best in terms of meeting the customers in person or over on the phone call, WebEx calls, and so on. But for ADP, over the course of last 20 years of existence in India, we have got a big footprint of service, implementation, support associates. And we spend a good amount of time as product managers sitting with them, taking calls, looking at their service request, and trying to draw insights out of those on what could be the pain points for the customers. So does it replace the direct conversation? No, it certainly aids to that conversation. The other area there we have been investing quite a lot is using tools around user behavior analytics, tools around product analytics to aid in our decision-making process. So most of the times, I think in the early days of product management, once you ship the feature, the job is done, you pretty much move on to the next feature or next capability. But there is a stronger emphasis on figuring out what's the outcome that you have been driving with the feature that you have released, and how does it feed back into the discovery cycle. So those are some of the tools that we can use as we go forward in terms of being closer to the customers. Some of the other things that you could potentially do is being part of the sales process. Let's say you have got a new product being launched, and sales team typically looks for support from product folks. So I think those could be some of those areas that you could potentially go and help. And in the process, you end up learning a lot more about what are the pain points and what's really working well for the customer with the product offering that you have. The third element that we have been focusing on is product community. And this is where we have been investing quite a lot in ADP in the recent last 6 odd months. So ADP grew from 50 odd product managers. ADP India grew from 50 odd product managers 3 years ago to 120 product managers today. So that's a huge growth from a product management footprint perspective. But it also comes with a challenge that many of these product managers either might have come externally to the organization, they might have come through B schools, they might have come internally. So there is some aspect which needs, some or the other aspect which needs to be bridged for us to set them to success. And which is where we are leveraging this community to help in terms of getting our product managers as far as possible on the same plane. So what does this community really do? So we use these, we call this community as Product Guild, and in Product Guild we share learnings across different business units, across product managers, be it in the small business unit, mid-market or up-market. And we share insights and we share learnings and frameworks and so on. So we are seeing good amount of traction there, some leading indicators that this is working well. I am pretty sure this could be some of those things that other companies could try as well, especially the companies who have been growing from a product management footprint perspective. I think Industry Connect, when we heard about Product Leaders Forum happening in Hyderabad, after such a long time we have not seen any such event happening in Hyderabad. And when we heard about it, we certainly wanted to tap into this opportunity, and which is why you see a lot of folks from ADP out here in the audience. We wanted to make sure that we were networking with our local community in Hyderabad and the product management community at large. Now, the fourth one, which I want to talk about, is the culture of innovation. Now, when you put the product management 101, the customer at the center, and community of sharing of knowledge and insights all together, then it creates a perfect platform for you to innovate. And we at ADP, we have been investing a lot on innovation. There are wider corporate level innovation initiatives as well as initiatives within ADP India, where we are encouraging our product managers to leverage the learnings across the three pillars that I talked before to innovate. I think we have got some good traction going from ADP India, where some of the newer products are built, conceptualized, and built out of India. So something for other companies to kind of think about in terms of innovation. So that's really what I had at a summary level. When you put all these 4 pillars together, this is where I think we can empower and encourage our product leaders to be future ready in terms of be it Gen AI or something else, right? So I'll take a pause and see if there are any questions and anything that you guys like to share from your organization before we go for lunch. Yep.
In the community part, we have a big thing on mindset part. Mindset is another important aspect wherein everyone has to practice upon it. So how are you tackling it, and what are the tips or any suggestions on how do we have to follow with it? Because that's a interesting conversation to have it, and keeps happening about. I just want to understand your thought process.
Sure. I think I don't know if there is a formula to build the product mindset, but what I would say is, as part of the product community and keeping the customer at the center, I think we have made some strides there. Example, we focus a lot on design thinking and user research. In terms of trying, before we get into building something, we spend a good amount of time doing market analysis and user research. And as part of these community, when we share some of these insights or case studies that we may have done for some of our products, that encourages the rest of the product managers to start thinking in those directions. So I think it comes as a result of a lot of discussions and a lot of deliberation on some of these topics. I would say that's primarily what we have been doing.
So I have a question about how do you apply Gen AI, which basically helps a reduction in product leaders kind of a work. Do you have any use cases which you practice?
Yeah. So I think we have heard of some use cases. I've heard Gen AI being used, whether, I don't know if, at least I have not used, or anybody from our organization has not used, but I've heard Gen AI getting used quite a lot in terms of competitive analysis. I've heard Gen AI getting used in terms of things like release notes and communication, post-release and go-to-market and stuff like that.
Do you mean like in the development cycles, like for example, when you're developing a product,
in the development cycle? I thought you were talking purely from product. In the development cycle, I think we are exploring some ideas about how do we increase the productivity of our engineers. So in ADP, we have a platform, HCM platform, using which we can build apps. We are exploring ideas on can we, based on prompts, can we start building applications? And to the extent that we are even thinking that based on the what's been articulated as a requirement, can that start getting converted into some sort of a user experience options? And based on the user experience that you want to go with, can you start using the platform to build those apps? Because these are low-code platforms, so potentially you could do it. It's not really the code.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Piyush. You just said that building the product mindset is like really difficult. One of the things is on the topic building product community, right? We know that product management is not still a very widely popular academic course, or like you can't have a degree specifically in product management if you are undergraduate. Are you building a path for, say, people from engineering or other backgrounds within ADP to transfer into role, and how do you support that kind of environment where we can cultivate people to basically transition into this role while basically building the necessary skill set to basically excel at that? Yeah,
I think that's a great question. So one of the things that we want to index quite heavily on in ADP as an example is the domain knowledge. Like, we have been a big payroll player for a long, long time. So there is a good amount of domain knowledge which resides within the company. So which is where it becomes important for us to encourage our internal engineers as well as service associates to move into product management should they want to. So we do create learning paths for them. Now, it's not as simple as creating a learning path and kind of leaving it to them, but we have a structured program which involves actually HR, which involves the leadership, because there needs to be equal buy-in from all the players to make it happen. So it's a combination of learning paths, mentorship program, and we try to create a roadmap for that person that maybe with hitting certain milestones, maybe in certain number of months, you would transition into product management.
We can take one last question.
Yeah. So in large organizations, right, one-time training is not sufficient,
Yep.
or even one-time learning is not sufficient.
Yep.
How can Gen AI help in, improving the knowledge retention rates? To the same thing, one more question I have. As an employee, I might be, super knowledgeable, but I might be super inconfident. Okay.
Very good question.
I could be, I could be, very fast, but very inaccurate. There are multiple combinations. How can Gen AI solve this problem and improve the efficiency overall of a company?
Oh, great question. I don't know if I have a answer to that question, but I think I'll try to answer the second part of your question to the best of my ability. So, how can we get the confidence? I think the question was, I may have the knowledge, but I don't have the confidence, right? So, as part of this community exercise that we are doing, there is a lot of emphasis on storytelling. Like many of our product managers could have been coming internally from within the organization. So they may not be very comfortable speaking in large forums, speaking in front of the client, presenting to the executives, and so on. So what we try to do is we create this environment for them to fail safely. So this community is like nobody is really judging you. You come in and talk about your product ideas, what you did for some of the launches that you may have done, what you did for some of the prioritization exercise you may have done, what you did for your discovery exercise, right? And we kind of encourage that way.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.